on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. We're live
Nice.
on Facebook.
Sweet.
What's up, Facebook? How about that? Live on Facebook, but only from my personal Facebook because I can't seem to figure out how to get State of Louisville connected. So it's just live on Jacob Lane's Facebook.
Okay.
So
What's going on, Jacob?
My friend. Yeah, right. Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Hey.
right.
Oh,
Shout
man.
out to all Jack's baby's mamas.
Right.
That's right, man. Well, I am Jacob Lane. That is Portal Pres Meyer. Nope, sorry, over here. I always have a hard time with directions. That is Alan Thomas. We are the Forward Backwards Hat Gang of State of Louisville Live, presented by Main Event and Surfside, coming to you for the first time officially in the offseason for Louisville basketball. And we got a lot we're going to get into tonight on the show. So thank you all for tuning in. Real quick, as we get things going, send this to 30 people. Send it to your group chat. Send it to your mom and dad. Send it to your grandma and grandpa, your aunt and uncle, your friends, your neighbors, your teachers, your bosses. Send it to, at least send it to 5 people, right? This is the time at church where I tell you to turn around and shake 5 neighbors' hands. Go ahead and do that now as we get started. And if you want to pass some money into the collecting tithe that's going around digitally here, no, I'm kidding. We don't do that here. We're closing the doors. No one's leaving until we raise $5,000.
Right.
Tithe for NIL.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
We're going to talk Louisville basketball tonight as the offseason officially is underway. The portal madness has officially begun. Nobody yet for Louisville, but that could change, which is why we're doing this show, quite frankly, live tonight, because we're at the point where news changes in, sometimes minutes, hours.
Yeah.
But obviously, coming to you guys tonight off of the heels of a very disappointing season to Louisville basketball, or finished the Louisville basketball season, losing to Michigan State on Saturday in the round of 32. If you want more of our instant reactions, you can go to our YouTube channel at the State of Lou, and you can watch that. If you go and navigate to the live video section, you can go back and rewatch that from Saturday, literally right after the game. We're not going to spend any time tonight breaking that game down. I think we're kind of past that. But instead, we'll spend some time talking about really the topic of the week, which is just kind of the reaction to Mikel Brown Jr. And really kind of the end of that relationship. We're going to each kind of share our thoughts. And I think we all kind of think a little bit differently on this one. Maybe not. We'll find out. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm going to play a video for you guys. And there's no sound, unfortunately. I couldn't figure out, I'm not technically savvy enough to get the sound. But I'm going to have you all read the captions of the video, and we're going to watch and react to this live because it is, one, the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life, and 2, people are sharing this video around social media as if it's a sign that Mikel Brown Jr. may be coming back. So I want you all to react to that video here momentarily. So I'll play that for you all. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like one thing. Normally, I'm way too plugged in. Ask my wife. It just that sound that you could have taken a weird, whatever. We're gonna move on from that. But anyways, way too plugged in to the Twitter sphere. So I'm excited.
Yeah, way too plugged in. The guy that took this video is not plugged in. Let's just say that. And you guys are gonna see what I'm talking about here.
I'm excited. Okay, you jump into whatever you had to plug, Jacob.
I don't have anything to plug besides.
I thought you were
YouTube channel. Nope.
Yeah.
It was just kind of set the show up,
Yeah.
YouTube, Twitter,
let's get these comments
Instagram,
going,
TikTok.
by the way. If you got thoughts,
yeah, we got one comment. Let's go ahead and throw that up on the screen here.
If you've seen the video, please don't spoil it.
What's up?
If you've seen the video, please don't spoil it in the comments and stuff like that. For anybody that hasn't seen it for the first time, that might see it for the first time, if Jacob can get it to go.
This is going on Facebook, so this will be revolutionary.
Yeah,
the video is actually from Facebook. That's how you know it's a good video. Yeah, this video is an original Facebook video. So this is not as bad as like the AI that's like, oh, Mikel Brown Jr. saved, burning car wreck, and it's like 40 comments on. It's like, wow, that's amazing. And you're like, that's fucking AI, stupid. So excuse my language here. But we're gonna dive into all that. Talk about Louisville's roster as the portal heats up. Louisville's bound to have some guys enter, and we're gonna kind of talk about that. At least some mid-link tonight, get some details of kind of where we see things, and then over the next couple of weeks we will come back and really dive into the names and things of that nature. So all that to say, if you're on Twitter, get over to the YouTube channel, get in there, leave some comments. let us know if you're wearing a forwards hat or if you like your hat backwards. Well, we want to know about your hat style. And then get involved with the show. And we're going to start with Mikel Brown Jr. Obviously, guys, this has been an ongoing topic, right, for several weeks and months, really, at this point. And we have discussed every angle of the injury, the fans' reaction to the injury, the rumors connected to the injuries, all the things that have really kind of come up with this year. But guys, I reached a breaking point today with this whole thing. And we're all at the age now where we're working and we're not on Twitter nearly as much as we were probably several years ago. We're not as plugged in as one would say, right? And so we don't get, at least me, I don't get a chance to typically react to things in real time anymore. I'm typically seeing them quite a bit of time afterwards. But tonight, or this afternoon, I saw a tweet from late yesterday evening that really kind of bothered me. And it was from the Mikel Brown Jr. Elite AAU account. And if you followed this account throughout the year, you've probably seen some of the comments from this account that have come up at times that are critical of fans that are being critical of Mikel Brown Jr. But for an account that is the official AAU account of the Mikel Brown Jr. Elite squad to be commenting and going back and forth with Louisville fans is just really interesting to me. And I don't have a screenshot of the tweet, but I'll read it at this point. But it's replying to @RationalUofL fan, who tweets, Mikel Brown already back in Orlando. And just for some context, our group chat has been betting the over-under of how long until Mikel Brown Jr. left Louisville. And so we're not shocked to see that Mikel Brown Jr. left Louisville. To which this account replied to Rational Card, a U of L fan, "You guys are obsessed with that damn kid, man. It's kind of," he needs a comment there. Kid man doesn't make sense. Kid man. It's kind of sickening, to be honest. He does kind of look like he is a kid man.
He is a kid man. Makes sense.
It's kind of sickening, to be honest. You guys took away from the focus of the team and made it all about what Mikel is doing and not doing. Your life is absolutely miserable. What the hell was he to do? Stay in Louisville? All caps SMH. Now, this is like a kid tweeting here, like not literally, but the tone of this is the saltiest thing. And the problem I have with this is just last week, and I respect Jeff Lightsey Jr. a lot. Jeff's a good friend of the show, somebody I really respect in the space, but he put the video out of be careful what you say. Recruits are watching. You know what I have to say to that? Screw that, because this account clearly run by Mikel Brown's father, and I say clearly, I don't know that, but just reading between the lines, to tweet this at a Louisville fan, to me, this is a major projection right here from Mikel Brown Jr.'s father. This is projecting of obsessing over what Mikel Brown is doing and not doing. That is exactly, by all accounts, what Chris Brown has done all season, is dissect every little thing and every little reaction to Mikel Brown, going all the way back to a video we posted from the Indiana game where I made the comment that it took Mikel being engaged late, and that was seen as kind of an offensive statement. Oh, Mikel played great, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whatever. I'm not going back and forth over this. It's stupid, right? But this is what you see, and to me, this kind of is where we're at, and fans have been on two spectrums, right? And I'll put the microphone down here in a second and give things over to you all. But the fan perspectives have been, he's a kid, leave him alone. He's great. We really respect him. We thank him for his time. Once a Cardinal, always a Cardinal, right? And then you have the other side of it, which again, social media is not real. So the extremes are probably somewhere in between the middle and real life. But the other side of the fan base is, screw this guy. He sucks. He is he was a 5-star, but it was not the right player for Louisville. He ruined the season. He was selfish. He should have played, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot of ways that you could go down that both of those paths. And there's probably a little bit of accuracy in both. But what I'll say is this dude's father is clearly in the elk of Trenton Flowers' family, of Shaquan, not Shaquan Aaron's family. I don't really remember his family, but it seemed like if they had social media back then, Shaquan Aaron's family probably would have been a problem. I don't know why I just went to Shaquan Aaron of all people's parents, but you get my point. This right here is the behavior that Louisville, I think, has been dealing with, and I think when you're trying to balance the behavior of a player's camp, balance his season, all the things that it means for your program, I think that Louisville, I'm at the point where I just think Louisville did the best they could. And I don't know if that's rainbows and sunshines, but that's where I'm at. So I'm going to put this microphone down and you guys go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head for what immediately came to mind for me. This situation reeks of Trenton Flowers, right? If you remember, Trenton Flowers bows out like 2 days before classes start, and his dad comes on and he's like, don't even worry about it. They got plenty of time till the season. And that's where we are in college sports now, is that a parent is no longer left to think about their child's education or anything pertaining to actually being a student athlete, right? Like why wouldn't he leave Louisville? Well, dumbass, the reason he wouldn't leave Louisville is because he's a student at Louisville and it's the middle of March. Like what? Like it's very obvious the reason why he wouldn't leave. And he's like,
that's a good point.
Why wouldn't he go back to Orlando? It's 2026. This is America. He can do whatever he wants. Sure, whatever. Right. But like that is in a nutshell what college athletics is becoming. And, I think I've kind of taken it in stride, but also I'm sitting here living, breathing it every day. You do hear comments, from casual fans or from friends and family that don't follow it and they want to ask you questions, right? I don't know if you guys are that guy in your family or at work or whatever, but people come to you with questions. Well, is Mikel going to play tonight? Is, like, what do you think about the team? Like there's always something, there's always a question because they know that you follow and you know stuff, right? And people who are not in the know seem very rubbed the wrong way about the direction that college athletics is going in. Now, I will say, it kind of as a juxtaposition of that, the ratings have never been better than they are right now. I understand, the championship game ratings have been down or kind of up and down over the last few years. But as far as people want to watch quality games and March Madness this year is giving that to them, right? Through week one, there were 10 times just in the first weekend where a game came down to a made or miss, or no, a made shot for a team to swing the game one way or another. Like the final possession counted, mattered that much, right? So that's a big deal. But kind of going back to what this looks like from a perspective of a fan just seeing it from the outside. Mm-hmm. When Alan and I talked about this directly after the loss to Michigan State, my perspective was on it, and it still is in a sense that we truly don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I think that while it's unfortunate that the documentary dropped in the middle of all this going on, and the day that you find out that Mikel is not playing the first two games of the tournament after kind of that was what we were hinting at was that was the game plan, and then it drops and that exact episode is the one that they follow Mikel Brown around for like 90% of the episode. That fucking sucks. But as far as that documentary really kind of let us in on, okay, well, there's a lot more to every team that we don't know about. And look at us, right? We sit here and freaking talk about it twice a week for months at a time, right? We talk about it year round. This podcast never stops, right? We are as plugged in as a fan can get, right? And we still don't know what's going on. And so that's kind of the perspective that I come from first and foremost about Mikel Brown is injuries are a fickle thing. And something like a back injury is difficult. Now, all of that set aside, I do think that there's something to be said about just the optics of a player on the sideline doing the windmill, taking an E and giving it one of these, or, jumping up and down and jumping on his teammates' back, whatever it is, going through warm-ups in public open practice and, being a goober behind the scenes. And look, that's fine. He's a kid. He's enjoying the experience. He's enjoying college basketball. But the optics behind it read, I'm happy. I'm here. I'm a part of this team. I'm just not participating. And so I think that that's what really has rubbed people the wrong way is you didn't even give it a go, right? Like we knew well ahead of time. It wasn't like we got to the game and they're like, oh shit, Mikel's back's flaring up. No, it was like,
yeah, right.
We knew. We knew from the jump. And we
right.
even had kind of an inkling, Jacob, if you remember talking about this back in And just after the start of the new year, back in January, we were talking about, that there's a very good chance that you see this team without Mikel Brown again. And he came back for a few games, gets banged up again, and that was curtains right there. So with all that being said, I will never, disrespect somebody or diss someone for doing what they think is best for their career, for their livelihood. Like you're talking about, if he goes on to be a lottery pick and signs a second contract in the NBA, you're talking about generational wealth on the line. And that is also a risk that you take. That's a risk that you run when you land a player like this on your team, right? Look at Darren Peterson at Kansas. Look at JT Toppin. Now, obviously his was different because he just had an injury that put him out for the season. But when you bank on a player of this caliber, driving the success of your team so heavily, this is the chance that you take. This is the risk that you run. And so Louisville ran that risk. And look, we got further than we ever have with a player of this caliber, right? We got, 20, 22, something like that games out of Mikel Brown. And let's also not forget the fact that the moments when he was playing, for the most part, were pretty damn good, right? Like NC State game, one of the highlights of the season. Granted, didn't do a lot with that. NC State ended up being a play-in team. I get all that. But, just watching a guy put up 45 points in the Center for the good guys, watching the stretch when Mikel came back where he scored whatever it was, 45, 29, 29 or whatever. There were a lot of really good moments in the season. And when Louisville had it going, it was incredibly fun to watch. And I don't want to look back on this season with such a negative taste in our mouths either. But I will say the optics aren't good. And this is a situation where if you're a parent and your child's going into the NBA and you can't handle the level of criticism right now with Louisville, one of the notoriously we are a fan base that will back the players like with our dying breath. Right? Yep. If you can't handle, some Joe Schmo with 100 followers tweeting out something
rational fan.
This is a great point.
Rational fan.
This is a great point.
Handle that. Just fucking wait. Imagine you go to the Knicks. Imagine you go to the Lakers. Imagine you go to one of these higher level teams that have millions of fans. And the level of scrutiny, you better burn you set your phone on fire, bro, because it is only just getting started. So from whether it's his dad, whether it's his grandpa, whether it's his third cousin,
mentor,
whoever is behind this account, delete your shit, bro. Delete it. Yeah. All you're doing is hurting the optics of somebody that you love. Yeah. Right? If you want to go out for those nice steak dinners on Mikel, you better get used to the criticism because it's going to keep coming.
Yeah. Real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick before you jump in, we have some breaking news in the college basketball world. I don't have an ESPN soundtrack in our.
Did Kenny Payne get hired?
He may. You got a new graphic to make. We have a new coach departing the ACC. Hubert Davis parting ways with North Carolina. North Carolina parting ways with Hubert Davis. North Carolina in the search for Kenny Payne. So get to pondering, Alan, on what your headline is.
It's hard. It's going to be
Carolina.
hard.
North Carolina, because is that I don't know. Maybe that's
maybe you know what? It might be the best one.
What about something on Tar Heels?
I've thought about all this shit. I'm like, what's Kenny's middle name? Is it William? Can I say Tar Will? No, because nobody's going to know what his middle name is.
Kenny actually has a hysterical middle name. Hold on, let me look it up.
Is it
That's really good?
I don't even want to
dive into.
I did not expect to
get
into
Kenny Payne's name once my dialogue
middle name tag.
Yeah.
So I want you to be able to give your thoughts here, and then after that we're going to watch the video and move on because we know Alan's got a hard out tonight, so we want to make sure that we are cautious of his time here this evening.
It's all about me. It's all about me. So
that hard out, baby. Yeah.
But no, just real quick, I think that was a great point by Presley, and you should go to the Knicks, or dude, go to the Utah Jazz. We saw that on social media in real time. You miss a three in the fourth quarter, and it maybe cuts the lead to 4 or something like that. Even missing a three, you're garbage. Like you're a waste of space. Like you suck. kid's a bitch, like all these things that we read from, social media, like at players. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this, and I'm not here to push back on any of that because I think you guys make good points, but I'm not going to get into it with, like, I've seen some things with the parents back and forth today with the Louisville Rational fan. I did see that. And, like, I tend to decide, not because, like, I'm with the Louisville fans no matter what, but I tend to decide with the Louisville fans on this one, with the parents, without, like, me personally, without digging in. I think social media, like, I know all too well, it can be a really, like, it can be a sticky place if you take a side and you're loud about it. I think the optics of that is bad for the fan base. Now, I say a lot of crazy shit on Twitter too, so I'm not gonna point out. You do whatever you want with Twitter. I told you guys a minute ago, like, or somebody on, it was one or both of you. Twitter is basically my journal. It's so many people's journals. I don't have any other social media. I don't use it for anything else, just to get my shit out. Or, oh, I think this might be funny. It's funny to me. Put it out there. You know what I mean? Or I want to insult this person in a backhanded, indirect, without being too personal way. But as far as, like, I just think that, like, full circle, like, somewhere in, or I guess Orlando, that's where they are. They're probably maybe together training or eating dinner. You know what I mean? And, like, going over the, like, to be a Pat Kelsey about it, they're going over the next, like, what's next for you. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's him and his dad, or, his dad is constantly, like, making moves with him, obviously, like, in charge of most of the decision making. So, like, I tend to think of the entire process with that, all the late nights, all the trainings, all the practices, all the meals. What are we going to eat now? So, like, I think me tying that into his dad and going at him, like, vocally on social media, because we're all pretty sure that's his dad behind it. I'm like 99.9%
Feels like
sure
it.
his dad's behind that. Who else would? He's the founder of Mikel Brown Jr. Elite. Like, he is the founder. So I don't know if
technically he's the founder of Mikel Brown Jr.
Technically, right?
That is.
And
He's the founder and
mic
CEO,
drop.
apparently.
I wish you had a mic so you could drop it, Presley. But that's where I'm at with it. And I think the school, just like I am with in the group that is just ready to move on from it. I'm ready. I'd love to hear more about it. I'm happy to see the videos and stuff like that. But, like, I want to see it. I'm just not going to participate in it because, right. And I think Louisville sharing that picture with they're doing the huddle with all the hands in without him in there. I think they're ready to move on too.
That is the loudest thing that I've seen on social media outside of Chris Brown tweeting from this account here. And look, there's a couple of other things. I could talk about this for a while. Like, Chris Brown has got LeVar Ball vibes written all over him. And if you want an example of that, I don't remember if it was Instagram or Twitter, who was like, I've got one more coming up next. Just wait. But God, Pat Kelsey, stay out of that recruitment for the love of God. Like, let's not get back into the younger Brown recruitment for younger brother here. Let's stay out of that one. I think we learned our lesson. But I also think there's a lesson to be told about this is the land that this is the world you deal with 5 stars. Like, you don't think BYU's dealing with difficult people with AJ DeBonsa.
Sure.
Same with Darren Peterson. Same with some of these other players. But then at the same time, though, if you're Chris Brown as a father and as a decision maker, clearly in some regard, and you're looking at what other guards have done in the first weekend of the tournament, from Darius Acuff Jr. to Kingston Flemings to Keaton Wagler to all of these guys, they are now up higher than Mikel Brown Jr. And if Mikel had played, sure, maybe he did risk getting injured again. But my guess is he could have done at least enough to show to try to at least maintain stock and not see his stock fall. So we're going to see what that looks like over the coming weeks with NBA draft prep. And as we get to the combine, he's going to be asked about this stuff. And I mean, there's going to be some stuff that comes out. I can already see it now where we learn more about the situation. And at the end of the day, the one thing is, I saw a tweet earlier from Strevel about, Louisville's staff handled this miserably, and I agree with a lot of that. But I think one of the things that I think Louisville tried to do, reading between the lines, was protect themselves and then protect Mikel Brown Jr., the basketball player on their team. I think they tried to avoid saying things that was going to throw him under the bus and make him look bad when they know it was not him that they were dealing with. It was a parent, another member of the camp. So I think Louisville tried their best. I think it's a learning experience. And if you get another 5-star, this is not the end of the 5-star game for me. Like, I would love to see them keep going after this, but maybe if you're recruiting somebody for long enough, you'll learn a little bit about their mom and dad. And this is probably a sign for Pat of, going to do things a little bit differently when I do recruit players of that ilk. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with there. Presley, go ahead. Closing thoughts here before we move on.
Yeah, real quickly. I did want to add, number one, it does kind of feel like, looking back in retrospect, now that hindsight is officially 2020, now that, the chances of, and we'll get into this here in a second, of Mikel coming back are like 0.000001%. Although I did say there was like a 95% chance that he played in the tournament. So what the hell do I know? But now that the season is fully in the rearview mirror, there were signs, right? It's like, we saw this beautiful woman and we wanted to, to try to court her, right? And we look past the fact that, she's always taking your credit card. She's always, she's only nice to you when she needs something. She only calls you when she's drunk, like those kinds of things, right? And we look past all that with Mikel Brown. There were signs, right? A guy committing in the middle of a game at halftime on the score on the scoreboard. When it happened, we were like, "That's fucking cool." We were like, "That was
it still was cool." Not gonna lie, still cool.
It was cool. It seems
Presley,
a lot less cool right now, Jacob.
Yeah,
seems a lot less cool right now.
Yeah, Presley, me and Presley were at that game. It was fucking cool. We were like, like little like I was an 8-year-old, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah,
the moment was huge, and it doesn't take away from what that meant. The momentum of Louisville, it doesn't take away from any of that. For this to happen, it's just a learning experience that you're going in this era. Until one thing happens, until they let these guys go to the NBA, this is going to continue to happen. Because again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Mikel Brown Jr. did not grow up wanting to play for the University of Louisville. Like, it is a part of the journey to get to what he grew up wanting to do, which is to play in the NBA. And by law or by rule, he has to go to college or overseas or wherever to play basketball in order to get to the NBA. And that means that Louisville is just the step in which he chose to do that. There is not the sense of loyalty of putting on the red and black like we have, like as people who have lived here our whole lives. Right. That's the day and era of which we live in college sports. And it sucks, but it's what makes the 4-year players special. It's what builds the bond with the guys who do take on that persona, like a Vangelis Zugris, guys that you just know are grateful to be there. And that is going to continue to happen in this day and age of college basketball. And last thing is, I am fairly certain that we've got the Brown family in the show right now because we've gotten a reply to my tweet about what we're talking about from the Brown account, from the Mikel Brown Jr. Elite account. And
come on in,
the
we'll send
reply
you a
back.
Let's talk about it.
Great mother, father, uncles, agents, mentors. Mother played in college, father played in college, uncle played professionally. Yeah, I think great people around him. I've been around him and his family since 4th grade, and great family. Well, I mean,
delete the account. Trust me. Thank me later. That's
it's just
if you're listening,
it's kind of funny.
Do what is best for your child or whomever it is.
Yeah, whoever your 4th grade, your family friend that you've known since he was in 4th grade. Yeah.
I promise you, it will only be of your benefit. I promise you. No, but as far as the last thing I was going to say is ultimately, if you're the other guys in the locker room and you're looking around and you're seeing the disposition of Mikel and you're seeing the back and forth drama, you go into the NCAA tournament, you work so hard all season to get to this moment. And of course, Pat Kelsey said it, right? Like it's a shame that this is what it's about, but your best player is we have no idea if he's playing night in and night out. And not only that, but we're not even giving it a go. And when you listen to, you saw what Taekwon Dean put out, one of the Louisville greats. You listen to Luke Hancock, is very eloquent with his words, but you read between the lines with some of these guys, the fact that these guys put their body on the line. Like, think about Luke Hancock back when Louisville went to the national championship. He's he's going through hell just to get back on the court, just to have that chance, right? There are lots of guys that do that. This was not a guy that was willing to do that, which is fine. Yeah. That's fine. It comes with the territory, but it's got to be so annoying as somebody else in that locker room to see this all going on and see all the work that they are putting in. And the storyline is no longer about their team. It's no longer about their successes. It's all about, not all about, but the 85-90% of the conversation is about Mikel. You get on the radio. I turn on the radio at 7:05 on Monday morning after the game. It wasn't necessarily about Louisville losing to Michigan State. It was about Mikel Brown.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what this has become. And look, that's the coaching staff can handle it better. Probably the narrative can be controlled a little bit better. Pat's got to wear that. But ultimately, it was such a distraction. I can't imagine being in that locker room and looking at the other guys around you and expecting something different from one specific player. To me, that would not jive with me at all. That would really irritate me.
Yeah.
I will say on one side you had – go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, and I'm sure his teammates, if there were interference issues with people in his camp, I'm sure his teammates saw and heard that, or at least I would think. Maybe not. And I think that would be why you've heard so many of the players come out in support of Mikel, which, of course, what do you expect them to do? It's their teammate. But I do think that, if we're seeing it, they're seeing it, and probably seeing it magnified in terms of some of the issues that he's having to deal with on a daily basis that are outside of his ability of control as a basketball player. So, Alan, go ahead, and then we'll go ahead and we'll move into the final part of the show here.
No, I was going to say on one side you had Taekwon Dean. These are all greats that we're all like, oh, right? Taekwon Dean saying this, so you're like, all right. So in a sense, it's like, like one of the Greek gods speaking, telling you this is the way you should think about it. On the other side, you have Donovan Mitchell going in Gigi Robinson's replies being like, hey, don't do that. Hey, chill out. So I think a big part of me that wants to, if I had to take sides about talking about it or not talking about it, I would side with Donovan just because I know he's the one that funneled Mikel to us. And there were games that, I mean, quite frankly, the Cincinnati game, I don't know if you win that game without Mikel Brown. You know what I mean? You might, but that was one that he kind of game. I mean, you could feel it in the arena. It's another game that me and Presley went to. So that's kind of the thing. I have chosen just to sit this one out on Twitter anyway. I have my own thoughts and feelings, and I would just like the storm to pass. If it doesn't, I'll sit back and watch. It's fun.
Yeah, well, you keep working on those headlines for the Kenny Payne graphics, man. That's what we're expecting you to do at this point. It's your version of just shut up and dribble. Just keep making those graphics, man. You don't need to participate in any other conversation. Just make the graphics. All right, real quickly, just a quick scroll back of the comments here. We got a comment here. Go Cards, beat Michigan. Absolutely. Shout out to Louisville basketball, Jeff Walls and the squad for moving into the Sweet 16. I think I saw the 12th time in 15 years 13? That the team has done that, or 13. Yeah, 13 time in 15, something like that.
13 total for Jeff Walls and 7 out of the last 9. That's pretty damn good, especially with the criticism that he's gone through over the last few years.
Yeah.
When you just look back at it, Sweet 16 is not only the expectation, it's the bare minimum.
That's right. Point. That's right. And I would like to get back to that on this side of things in terms of basketball, is the Sweet 16 being the bare minimum. But we live to, one, if you're looking at improvement, you went one round further. Let's see what we got here. Folks starting to believe, and that's why folks are hurt. 75 to 80%. Mikel Brown Jr. Louisville is playing this weekend. Pops or whoever is clapping back is out of pocket. Most people that are realists agree. Yeah. I mean, I do think there's been some extremism on both sides. I mean, I saw a tweet that was like, we should strike his scoring effort from the record book. And that's just a bit far. It's kind of funny if that's a joke, but also kind of a bit far.
People are serious about that. Yeah. So.
Life, death, and Jeff in the Sweet 16. That's right. I'd like to see them beat Michigan, and then I'd like to see them beat Texas. That would be, or Kentucky, whoever it ends up being in that spot. I believe is how that would go. So, or maybe they have to play Kentucky to get to Texas. Either way, I know that Texas is somewhere in there, and so is Kentucky. Kentucky plays Texas. Thank you.
Kentucky and Texas play, and
then we get the winner.
Texas is a buzzsaw. It's going to be tough.
That's right. They got Rory Harmon, if I'm not mistaken, one of the best players in the country at Texas. Also, shout out Olivia Miles. So I felt like I know where this isn't really the topic of the evening, but Olivia Miles has become like one of the most brandable basketball players in America with the goggles and everything, the personality, the triple double is like That's what
Yeah.
NIL is about, is like
Sure.
these athletes developing and stepping into these moments and becoming household names in their sport, and then brands wanting to be a part of that. That's truly what NIL is supposed to be, not taking money and just taking money. Okay, let's move into the last part of the show here. If you're just joining us, State of Louisville Live, presented by Surfside and Main Event. Shout out to our friends at both places. I got to tell you, if you haven't been out to Main Event, you've got to get out there, especially if you've got little ones. They have the new human crane machine where they will literally load you up on a kind of like you would if you were zip lining, like a little what are those things called? Whatever, a harness,
like a
harness,
swing or a hammock or
swing. Yes, and then they have kind of like their own version of moving the crane or the claw, if you will, around with the kid in it, and the kid is trying to get things out of it. And they walk away with a very cool toy at the end, like an inflatable thing. It's awesome to watch.
Yes.
It's worth every bit of it. So I would encourage you all to check it out. Main Event's just a great spot to take the family, watch some games, play some games, bowl, get up there on the ropes course, some laser tag. I mean, there's literally everything there. And speaking of everything there, the portal. Everything's in the portal, and I expect this offseason to be even bigger than what last year was, where it felt like every big-name player in college basketball went into the portal. Expect that to be the same, if not bigger, this year, and we're already seeing it early on. Just some notable names, none from Louisville, but notable names in the portal so far. Former five-star recruit out of Oregon and Kwame Evans Jr. You have the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year and Tyler Lundblade from Belmont. You've got, let's see here. I'm trying to do this on the fly. You've got Jackson Selstead from Oregon. Today you had Jamarian Davis Fleming, a four-star big man from Mississippi State, going to the portal. Stephon Vox, Veeks, from Providence.
Isn't it Vox?
As well as Daquan Davis.
Okay.
I believe so. Veeks, Vox.
I'll take your word for it. He's nice.
Yeah.
Jackson Chelstad, the dynamic duo at Oregon, both in the portal. Kwame Evans Jr. Jackson Chelstad.
How about that? And there's gonna be a lot of things that happen over the next couple of weeks, but I'll tell you, by the middle of April or by the late part of May, we're gonna know what this roster is going to look like. This is going to come together quicker than a roster ever has. And so for Louisville, as they look at their returning roster, and where I want to spend a couple of minutes with this is talking about that returning roster and talking through with you guys. If you were Brian Cloman, if you were Louisville's general manager, and your job is to essentially determine the value at which you place on your returning players, I want to talk to you guys about kind of how you would see that. Okay. So I sent you all some questions earlier. I'm trying to pull these up here on the fly and I'm having a hard time. Here we go. Okay. Retain or not to retain. Okay. That's the game that we're going to play here. I'm going to give you guys some names and some very specific questions that I want you to answer that are going to determine the value of which this player comes with. So let's start at the bottom with Kason Pryor. We'll start there. Splashy name. People might say, well, he's played 7 years of basketball. How does he have another year? I don't know. That's a great question. Doesn't make sense to me, but he apparently does have another year of eligibility. Will he decide to use that? Nobody knows at this point. Presley, if you are Brian Cloman, are you even remotely entertaining the idea of offering anything of value to Kason Pryor to return next season?
No.
And why not?
No. I think that you've invested very heavily in Kason Pryor over the last 2 years. And look, the injury he sustained was clearly nothing to play with. Louisville took a chance on him. And I do think that as he started to return to the lineup, the rotation was set and Kason was kind of the odd man out. But I think that if Kason had gotten back to the player that we knew him to be early last season, that's a guy that you get on the floor. And we saw when he was on the floor, it wasn't extremely effective. And the other thing I'd say, just very quickly, you see his demeanor on the bench. You see when players go into the huddle, he's not paying attention. He's out in La La Land, goofing off, and then he'll come in. Perfect example, NCAA tournament. They went to break. Everybody's starting to get into a huddle. Kason's kind of looking around, doing his own thing. He gets in the game a few minutes later, gets a pass a little bit low, but just straight up drops it and ruins the entire flow of the play. Gets down court, gets beat. Like it's just like clockwork, right? And I understand getting into the flow of a 40-minute game and only having a minute and a half, whatever. I haven't understood that. I don't know if that's just giving Kaysen an opportunity, thanks for, everything. And here's 2 minutes. I have no idea. I don't know what the strategy behind that is. It doesn't make basketball sense to me, but whatever. That's a different conversation for a different day. But no, I mean, it was very apparent when you watch the documentary, when you, when you hear the rumblings around this team and what goes on behind the scenes. This is a guy that was paid a lot of money and absorbed a lot of the percentage of the allotment that you had to build this roster, and he essentially didn't play this year. Outside of the Memphis game where he comes in and hits 4 straight threes or whatever it was, outside of that, you didn't get a lot of Kaysen Pryor. To me, there's no reason you didn't get any return on your investment. Why just cut the cord? I'm done with it. It's almost become a sideshow at this point. Not that we have any issue with Kaysen, not that there's anything negative to say about him whatsoever. It just is what it is at this point. Time to move on, and I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked. And the last time I said that was about Mikel, but I would be even more shocked if he somehow returned as part of this team. And I would think about how much you would genuinely question what the fuck this coaching staff is doing. Excuse my language. If they brought back Kaysen Pryor. Just put yourself in that moment. You get a text message from me. You're at work at 10:30 in the morning. Kaysen Pryor's back. You would shit your pants. You would cancel your appointments.
I would say that, like, I would say, like, I'd invite him back, but he's not going to like the dollar amount because, right. And I'll get into a little bit of this as we go through the roster. I won't be long-winded, but I believe in continuity with Pat Kelsey. I won't say it's like that with every single coach, but it feels more family-oriented. I know everybody's going to roll their eyes like, oh, God. But I'm telling you, like, he's not going to like the check I want to write him at all. So it's basically a force out. Kind of what happened to, without naming names, probably like a couple players from Kenny Payne's last year that wanted to stay. Pat Kelsey or whoever was in charge of that is basically like, listen, you can stay, but, like, you're not promised jack shit, and the check I'm going to write you is dog shit. Like, you know what I mean? But you can stay. Right. Like, we're happy to have you, right? Like, that's the era we live in. So, between Ali Khalifa and shout out Kobe, this is no shade on Kobe at all, but between Ali Khalifa, Kobe Rogers, and Kaysen Pryor, all coming back from injury, none of them outside of, I don't want to say none of them, but, like, consistently being effective game in and game out. Again, hats off to Kobe and Ali too for coming back and doing it. But they're both limited in so many ways that I don't know if you take a chance on an injured guy. And I know it's going to be 2 years off of Kaysen's, but we didn't see enough growth to give him that same amount on the check. Yeah, so I would agree. I'll take you, but you ain't gonna like the check, man.
Yeah, at that point, you better be playing for free if you're coming back. Yeah. And at that point, I'd still have questions of fit. Yeah, to Presley's point, I mean, to me, the biggest thing was just always the technical fouls, the dumb stuff on the court that made no sense, getting a technical for trash talking the bench when you play 1 minute in the game. Little things like that just screamed like anti-Pat culture. And I think it's the best that Kaysen, if he is going to go, elsewhere, I think he's going to be a guy chasing another check more than chasing an opportunity to improve his draft stock. I think it's trying to collect as much money as possible, which I can't knock that. That's certainly one way to go about it. Okay, moving on to the rest of the roster here. I'm going to give you guys a 3-pack of names, and I want you guys to tell me just truly what your thoughts are on their ability to fit in. Let's just say that you can get each of them at the minimum cost of which an NIL player might be worth, at the Power 5 level, backup. Let's just say somewhere between, I don't know, $100,000 to $200,000, maybe more than that. Maybe that's nothing for these players. But would you bring back, Presley, if you were Brian Cloman, Vangelis Zugris, London Johnson, and Mo Kamara?
If you want my honest opinion, I would prioritize Zugris over the other two because I think that Zugris embodies what the coaching staff says that they're looking for. And I think they rewarded that by starting him in the back half of the season. So Zugris would be number 1 on my list. If I saw him leave, I would be sad. I don't know if I'd be disappointed. I'd be sad because I think he gave you good minutes. I think that he was a huge spark for this team. Mo Kamara, I mean, look, the jury is very much out on Mo Kamara, right? I mean, you see a lot of these tapes, right? Now, I guess you could kind of clump Johnson in there as well, right? You see a lot of these tapes from Johnson and at G League Ignite, but what is that supposed to mean to me? The being able to evaluate a player and those styles of games is very difficult. And I understand that there's lots of people out there that get paid for a living to evaluate this stuff. But there's a reason London Johnson's back in college, right? There's there's a reason why players took the route that they did. You don't move backwards unless something seriously goes wrong. Now, I did just happen to watch a lot of London Johnson tape recently. He reminds me a lot of Adrian Woolley. I think his game is similar in that sense that it's kind of that modern, more prodding James Harden style of play where, you try to dictate the flow of the game, get your defender off balance, play a little bit. It's less about speed and physicality and more about just being a very skilled player and scoring in unconventional ways. And I think that he does a good job of that. But the verdict is out on who he is as a personality, how he would fit in with this team, what he would bring to the team stylistically. I think the jury's still out on that. Whereas with, some other players that we'll get to, not as much at all. Right. So, I would rank, and then Kamara, he's truly just an unknown. You really don't know. All I know is that he looks like a freak of nature.
He looks like a freak of nature. That's enough for me.
He is well built. But look, I don't want Mo Kamara to be a guy like, oh, that's our sixth man this year, right? Because he's a guy that came in, included the staff, looked at him and said, there's no way we can play this guy this year. Throw a red shirt on him. Yeah. And so when that's what the answer is, if you're keeping him around, he better have improved a lot, and you have a very solid, firm game plan for this guy.
I sure hope that the red shirt was more to do with the academics of not having been in school than it is anything else. Because if you're a professional basketball player and you're being brought back to college and, it's like you have to hold Billy Madison back in first grade because you're worried he's not ready for first grade, even though he's a 32-year-old man. You're like, dude. And so with London Johnson, it's like, that's why I have a feeling that he'll never play a game for Louisville basketball. It just doesn't feel like that situation was played out the way that you would expect it to. I'm cool with Kamal. I'm cool with all of them coming back as long as they're all role players. And when I say role players, the end of my rotation role players, my third guard, my fourth guard, my third big man who's a matchup big man, and then a swing 4-3-4 combo that I can throw out there, against athletic wings that are bigger, different matchups. Alan, quickly, I know you got to get out of here. We're going to keep going because we've got some more roster to get out of here, but I do want to get your thoughts on those three. Would you retain them with what I assume would be a minimum NIL investment for those three?
I can be quick. Mo Kamara, and I championed him in the offseason, but I feel like, I'm more in this might surprise you because I was so heavy on him in the offseason, but I'm more in the, like, all of a sudden you're redshirting him right before the season. I'm like, how raw is this kid actually? And like, what tape, like, am I, like, the tape that I saw against, like, the NBA Africa guys, like, was the game just so up and down, like, unrealistically up and down, that I was, like, brainwashed to the fact that this guy can just, like, handle the ball and run, get in the lane so easily. So I'm kind of like, side-eyeing that whole thing, and I'm going to go against my beliefs on this one and probably say, like, no. Or, like, you won't like the check. Same thing with Kaysen. Like, you could stay, but, like, you could just be, like, we're going to stick you, we're going to tuck you on the roster. London Johnson, I just talked about how I was fooled by tape. I liked his tape enough. And I haven't seen anything in practices, but I liked it enough to say, and I don't know what they gave him this year, but I like it enough to say, like, and also liked what, what I've seen people under Pat Kelsey learning can do, over time. So, like, he can stay. I don't know what they offered him. I would like to know the money. I'm kind of on the, like, teeter-tottering with that one. gun to my head, I'd say, yeah, keep him and just pay him lower because I really want this roster to be like dog heavy, power five heavy, strong mid major, like leadership, scoring, tough guy, rebounding heavy.
Yeah.
But the final piece was Zugris, and I don't think there's a like Zugris is Pat Kelsey's, developmental. Who is in charge of bigs? That is their Mona Lisa. Is Zugris. This is a guy that did not play in games. There were games where he did not appear, and like you're like, oh, and all of us kind of wrote him off in the middle of the season, like, yeah, hey man, it's not the same as it is over in Greece or whatever, wherever he, what league he played in, and then he became the starter, and it became like dump it down into Zugris. I found myself saying that with Ryan Conwell in the game, with Isaac McNeely in the game. I'm like, dump it down to Zugris because and then
6 points of the game.
Yeah,
against Michigan State.
Throws his ass around, man. Guess what?
Hey.
Has that little push floater going, has a little like an up and under. So many things. I was like, I'm watching the game like with people. I'm like, are you? It's crazy. So Zugris, I think, man, if he's happy with the check he got, again, I hate we have to talk about money every time, but that's where my brain's going. I don't know if we're going to get the same 16,000 or 16 million or 12 million, whatever it was, but you have to be able. But Zugris can't be my starter, But like, hey man, like that, your continuity, your toughness is all the fuck we had, like in that department this year. Please come back. Like, yes, I would welcome him back.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would agree with you. I mean, he became a fan favorite because the energy that you just wanted everyone to play with was how he played. And we joked on Saturday watching the game, the group of us at Main Event, that we're not sure that Zug's muscles will allow him to shoot a jumper, which is why he has to go with the floater. Because it's like, it's like more of like a slingshot, but that floater and then that damn spin move, man. He must idolize Dwight Schrute the way he does spin moves on every single time he gets the ball. Zug is just like, he's constantly trying to put a spin move on guys, but you saw a very raw basketball player develop into a, fringe starter, or at least a role player. I think that's what he would be if he came back. On London Johnson and Mo Kamara, I think the distinction for them is the NIL portion, especially London Johnson. Mo Kamara has no tape unless he's going to go somewhere where he gets opportunity. I think that's what he would prioritize, which would mean probably going to a much lower basketball conference. I think that you can find a way to make the money work for him. And then with London Johnson, I mean, the minimum salary for the G League was roughly about $41,000. So if you think about the money that London Johnson made, he probably made more money this year than he's made in the last 2 years combined just to sit. So it's a win for him. The challenge then is, how do you evaluate what you pay him next year? Because for me, it would be, your salary for the G League was $40,000, so here's $100,000, and you just big time upped your financial situation, and we're not breaking the bank in order to pay you to be a backup guard. So I mean, I think I would probably pay him similar to what I paid Kobe Rogers. Maybe a little bit less, just considering that Kobe actually had more college basketball experience. But I would like to see London Johnson return. I think he could be a good fit here. And I would like to see him play. I didn't know what number he was until like 3 weeks ago. I'm not even sure they gave him a jersey. Because if you remember, he's number 5, yeah. The Boston College game where he was eligible, my dude didn't have a jersey on. So wasn't playing in that one, and it was pretty obvious. So, all right, Alan, we'll send you out of here.
Bye-bye.
No,
thank you. You got the permission to keep going?
Yeah, I was just, his cousin, who's the coach, is going to bring him home.
All right, shout out to cousin. Coach Cousin.
Yeah,
Coach Cousin, baby. Shout
Coach
out to Coach
G.
Cousin. Shout out Coach G. Shout out Butler High School, man. Shout out to the boys over there this season. A great year.
Shout out to the
Bears. Shout out to the Bears, man. Okay, let's keep this roster conversation moving because we're getting into the fun part now. Let's start with, out of the big 3 that return in Sananda Faru, Kenai Roots, and Adrian Woolley. Let's start with Sananda Faru. Okay, this is the toughest one. And I think the question you have to ask yourself, if you are Brian Cloman, or really not the question, I think the way that you have to pose this to Sananda is, hey, man, we really like your game. We feel confident that you're developing and that this is the place for you. But, we need to look at kind of beefing up our front line, and we're going to make some adjustments this year. And, we need you to become more of a stretch 4, a guy who can move the ball outside. You can pass. We clearly know you can play make, but we need some more scoring out of that position, and a guy who can play next to a bruising 5. And I think if you're Cloman and staff, you have to decide, one, can Frew do that? And then two, how do you evaluate the financials on that? Because I am not going up in financials and payment in terms of cost for Sananda Frew. I can't imagine that he was an expensive player last year. So Presley, I'll start with you. How are you evaluating Sananda Frew? Are you evaluating him as a starting center, a backup center, or do you see him having to move to play more of a 4 to maintain his spot in this Pat Kelsey offense?
If you're giving me the monopoly money and I get to spend on who I want, how I please, I definitely, first of all, I don't know what the limitations are. I don't know how things work with foreign players, right? Like I don't even know if Sananda Frew can get a lot of
he can,
NIL. I don't know. He can.
Yeah,
that's
I
fully,
think it's changed. The rules have changed. I remember talking with Dan Furman about this with Rain Smith and Ali Khalifa last year, and both of those guys were able to compensate financially. So I think that rule has changed. I don't know around like marketing deals and some of that, but I do think they can make money through their revenue share.
Yeah, I do remember Rain kind of, reaching out saying like, hey, I'm working with this NIL opportunity. I got to make, got to find a way to pay my rent.
Got to bring home the bucks.
Yep. Could you give me a retweet? Could you put me on your story? Whatever. Right. So it's definitely different coming from these foreign players, right? But obviously, he's not coming here empty-handed. Ultimately, I don't see Sananda Frew as being a guy, if you're trying to assemble a championship roster, I don't see Sananda Frew being a guy that's starting in the middle for you. I could see him being a 10-minute a game type of dude, but yes, like LA Lakers 17 says, yeah, too soft. And look, that's his game. The problem though, Jacob, with you asking if he could play the 4, why? Like I'm just trying to like what are the strengths of his game that would indicate that the 4 spot would be any better? I don't.
It wouldn't. That's the thing. That's the question you have to ask yourself is you're not a 5. You're not a starting 5. And so if you want to play here, you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to evaluate your skills. And maybe we don't know about Frew's stretch game. Maybe Frew can shoot. We saw him do it some, but maybe Frew could be a pop and shoot. But it's unlikely, which is why you're evaluating him as
he could
starter
shoot the
backup.
ball. But I mean, when you're comparing the mobility, you're comparing the mobility of two humans between Ali Khalifa and Sananda Frew. Like, yeah, Sananda looks pretty athletic, but I mean, let's call it how it is, guys.
Those sky dunks were pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie; those were a lot of fun to watch. The one-handed, like just Jordan logo type dunks.
That's great.
That was it, though.
Go back to the basket one time in your life.
Yeah,
like my man. There was some stat out there for a while. I think he finally had a post-up hook shot in a game. I have erased it from my memory, but I just remember seeing some sort of statistic about this. But he was literally like 0% from the field on back to the basket shots. You're big man.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that a James Scott or somebody like that's different. I saw, James Scott's getting some love in the chat, which is funny because I've mentioned this many times throughout the season that I'd love to see James Scott back on this team. I thought in hindsight, having him on this team would have given you a lot of what you're missing, right? He brings rebounding. He brings rim protection, not elite level rim protection, but better than what you were getting. He ran the offense to a T, and there's a reason that he's second all time in Louisville history in dunks in the season, only to Montrezl Harrell. Right now, Sananda Frew is third, so I don't want to act like it's some insane accomplishment. I don't know. I think if you're Frew, the writing's on the wall, right? You tried every message that you could send outside of just blatantly just benching him. He stopped starting, obviously. Allen's back.
Uh-oh.
Allen's gone.
He's still there.
You stop starting Frew. And he had a great NCAA tournament game against South Florida. All credit where it's due. 10-10, I think, 12-10, something like that. Yeah. But it's tough. If he's being guarded, he's a below the rim player. He's a below the rim 7-footer. Never seen anything like it. He gets boxed out by guards. It's just, I'm not trying to hate. This is not coming from a place of spitefulness or hatefulness. If the staff saw something in him where they were like, I think he's got that in him. I think he's got it in him. But you look at the documentary, and Kelsey is just ripping his ass in the most Pat Kelsey possible way, trying to motivate him in a film session going into the ACC tournament, guys. Like, you had all offseason, you had the entire season, and you still can't fucking figure it out. You still can't get the guy to just make aggressive plays around the basket. Like, the dude's 7 feet tall, and he's getting out rebounded by pretty much everybody. Like, I was trying to think of an example, but I was like, wait, all those examples work. He was like your 5th best rebounder this year. It's unacceptable. So you got to see more out of him. Ultimately, I think the writing's on the wall. He's either going to ride the bench next year and Louisville's going to bring in a big-time big, or he's going to go back to Germany. I can't see him transferring.
I don't either. I think he's going back to Germany.
It just wasn't – it seems like a great guy. Seems like he has some skill, but not what Louisville needs. Not even close.
Yeah. What do you think, Alan?
Worst set of AirPods ever. They always die like around the 1 hour mark. I don't know if that's normal or not. I don't think that's normal.
I think so.
I don't know.
Now you sound like you're in a phone booth, so it's okay. Sounds great.
Okay. Well, let me give a 5-minute monologue on Sananda Frew from a phone booth. So I'll just say this about Sananda Frew, and I said this on the pod after Michigan State with Presley. I would actually keep Frew over Zegras. If you had to give me the choice of the two, like I would pick Frew. I would pick Frew because I think he has more range. Zegras is never going to be able, you're never going to trust him to shoot outside of that little push floater thing it's like a European, the push floater that they do that he's like probably 80% on the season with by doing maybe even like close to 100. But like Frew, I don't know how many threes he hit, but that's something you can work on. I saw that on his tape, and he wasn't allowed to shoot that much down the stretch, which is fine. We had people that would rather shoot the ball because the ones he did take down the stretch, he missed. But that's something you can work on. You can work on your long ball over the season. And again, it's all of my answers are going to come down to, what does the checkbook look like for that guy? You know what I mean? And I keep coming back to that because that's a part of my decision for each person. But Sonny Frew, unfortunately, the money's not going to be larger. But I do believe in continuity. So if I had to choose, I would rather him stay than go, because I feel like, if Sonny's I'm not saying he would come in behind Zegras, but if you had one of the two, right? I mean, I'm saying either Zegras or Frew, you keep one of those guys, for the locker room, for the toughness. Oh, I did balloons again. For that aspect, you keep Zegras. For the aspect of depth, overall depth, even if it's at the 5, even if you're going to come get 2 dogs, he gets to go up against those guys in practice. He gets to go up against Zegras too, but Zegras isn't as well, he's got some moves, but he doesn't have what's going to be in the portal moves. And I don't know, man, a full season not guarding a bunch of dudes that were injured last year, Kason Pryor, Ali Khalifa, you know what I mean? That makes a difference too. He can. I would rather keep him. I'd rather keep most of these guys, but again, the money. I need the money for guards and for big fucking forwards and a big fucking center.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. I'll eat some crow here really fast. Sananda Frew led the team in rebounds.
He did. Yeah, he was the leading rebounder. But the final 5 games.
Do you know who was second in rebounds?
Oh, I just was looking at this the other day. I should know this.
Was it Ryan?
I was gonna say it's either Ryan Conwell or Adrian Woolley, one of the two of them.
It's Javon Hadley.
Hadley.
Okay.
Wow.
Adrian Woolley averaged 3.9 rebounds a game. Javon Hadley 5.1. Ryan Conwell 4.8.
Yeah.
I think part of that's a product of the style of play, right? Your bigs aren't going to be just chronic double guys in this system, and we're not ignorant of that fact. It's more of just watching every time you play a legitimate big, you just get absolutely just owned,
destroyed.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the concern comes from, right? Louisville's looking to take that step from round of 32 team, losing exactly how you expected to Michigan State, and losing every quad 1A game that you played stands Miami, right? Louisville's looking to move from that team to a team that could contend for a national championship. And you can't do that with Santa Fruit starting at center. I'm sorry.
No, you absolutely cannot do that
because
at center.
As a starter, no, yeah.
When you look at the glaring weaknesses against the Duke, against the North Carolina, against the Arkansas, Tennessee, every single time my man gets owned. And they absolutely pinpoint the fact that Louisville doesn't have rim protection, and they can just go at him all day. And even more to that point, get him in foul trouble. Just get him out of the way. Get him out before the first TV timeout. That happened a few times too.
Right.
A lot of times.
Point being, it was just not enough. And stylistically, it seems like he's coming from a place in Germany where it's a lot more spread out style of play, and he has a lot more room to do what he does best, which is thrive in a pick and roll situation. Because he freaking crushes it when he's going downhill to the basket. There's not a lot of people that are going to stop him one-on-one going to the basket down through the lane. Outside of that, though, it's a real mixed bag.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Again, leading rebounder, but before the NCAA tournament game, Sananda Fru had not led the team in rebounding in a single game since Baylor. And across that stretch was SMU, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Clemson, Syracuse, Miami. Everybody outside of Syracuse in that instance had pretty good big men, which tells a story of Sananda Fru's inactivity. I mean, throughout those final games, it was 2 rebounds, 3 rebounds, 1 rebound. It was pitiful, and I think that's why you made the move, and I don't think you make that move late in the season to go back and reward that guy who was benched to bring him here or to keep him here at probably a higher rate. The only thing I could see going for you is a guy like that doesn't want to transfer, but I do think for him, the writing is on the wall. Go back to Germany, go back into the professional leagues, and play that style of play that suits you better. Moving along here into the final 2. Go ahead.
Sorry, just really quickly, I did see somebody comment on James Scott in the comments saying, they would take Sananda Fru over James Scott. I just simply I could not disagree anymore. And look, this is not trying to rewrite history. It's not trying to play armchair quarterback. When you look up James Scott on Stat Reference right now, he has a gold square around his career shooting percentage. You know what that means? He currently holds an NCAA all-time record for
shooting percentage,
for qualifying players for shooting percentage.
What?
That's wild.
That's crazy.
Wild. I believe it, though. I mean, I believe that when you shoot, that plays into Pat Kelsey's system of we shoot 2 shots, 3-pointers and layups and dunks. That's our shot selection. James Scott says, "Got it. I'll just dunk."
Yeah.
To that point, though, just very quickly, I don't want to just fixate on James Scott here. He really turned it on towards the end of the season. He wasn't a starter, didn't get a ton of playing time, but towards the end of the season, as they're going into the tournament, he had 10 and 9. Then he had 7 and 13, 4 and 10, 7 and 9 to finish out the season. We'll take that all day. And look, this is a guy that's he's not cut from the right cloth to play in that Ole Miss system. He's tailor-made to play in a system for Louisville. Now, do I think he should get the same minutes and be as important as he was for Louisville in year 1 for Pat Kelsey? Absolutely not. But if he was an option, like if we're just going to go out there and pick players, like I wouldn't mind James Scott.
No,
I wouldn't mind at all. He knows the system. He's a great cultural piece. He plays his ass off. When he plays his role well. He doesn't ask for the ball too much. He's improving in a lot of areas like rebounding, free throw shooting, shooting beyond the arc. He is. You could see the improvement across his time at Louisville. I think what left people with a sour taste in their mouths was that back half of his sophomore season, where he got absolutely eviscerated by Creighton and Duke in his last 2 games. He got destroyed. Yeah. But look, we're saying the same thing about Sananda Fru right now. So
yeah. All right, let's move in and let's try to speed this up here so we can get our folks back into their regularly scheduled evening program. Goodness gracious, man, that wasn't even close to the right words for that situation. Not a single one of those was the correct use of that word. But as you look at the 2 final pieces, which I would say are your 2 biggest pieces, in Adrian Woolley and Kenai Roots. Let's start with Adrian Woolley. And the question I have for you guys on this one is pretty simple now, and I'll start with you first. Adrian Woolley is your best guard returning. He's going to be a junior. He's coming off of an incredible freshman year at Kennesaw State, came to Louisville, made a bag, improved throughout the year, going to be looking for probably a pay raise and a responsibility and role raise as well. And so my question is simple. Do you pay him like a lead guard? Yes or no, Alan Thomas? Do you pay Adrian Woolley like a lead guard?
What is the difference? Like, you know what I mean?
As your number one guard, like, would you pay him financially what you paid Mikel or what you paid Ryan Conwell, if that's what it comes down to this offseason, is being paid more, which I think that if you look at a guy like Adrian Woolley, who's from Tuscaloosa, could go back to an Alabama, could go to an Arkansas,
Sure.
And maybe he's not the best player there, but he's going to make best player money. And I'm asking you, if you're Louisville, do you pay him, knowing there's going to be high bidders, do you pay him best player money?
I think no.
It's a tough one.
I think you pay him. I think you offer the raise. I think he's earned his money. Like, he'll be a junior. You know what I mean? So he's moving into, like, he did all of the impressing and things. The big shot in Miami that we're all going to remember. Our kids that saw it will remember. He did that as a sophomore on the road. You know what I mean? Like, this day and age, that's hard to do when 80% of the players that you face are 25 years old, 24 years old. So, I mean, this guy could play for maybe another year, and you hope for a big jump, right? And then, maybe he lands back in the draft stock. He's probably going to be on some lists the following year, not this draft, but next year, going into the season. So I think you don't pay him. You have to save that other money, because you don't. I mean, to pay him like the biggest would be pretty much guaranteeing him a starting spot. And I don't know, just judging off a couple. Not saying every guard that goes in the portal, like, oh, those have to come here. Like, I want those guys. So over Woolley, when it comes down to it, I might want Woolley over the people that we have to choose from or whatever, like down the stretch. But I mean, there's going to be some dogs coming out, and there'll probably be some more, going into the portal. So I say top money, no, but I do think you offer him more money. But that being said, you've got some money freed up from Case and Pryor, and you're not going to be offering guys. I hope you're not going to be offering guys that are coming off of injuries. Even though I think Ali Khalifa, did he get injured in the offseason after what happened there?
No, I think he had a lingering issue that they decided to pursue surgery for versus natural recovery. And I think, he had I don't know. I think it was a knee injury, and then you had Kobe coming off of a knee injury also, who did not play, but he had torn his ACL in the NCAA tournament game against Alabama the previous season, almost like right now 2 years ago. So he also was coming off. So you paid 3 players coming off of injury to come back to your team, which is really an interesting philosophy, because they do not do that on the football side whatsoever.
Yeah.
Look at the guys the last few years that have walked, that have been injured, that you would think would get pay raises but didn't. And it's because you can't invest in an injured player. And I think that's a lesson that Louisville learned the hard way with Case and Pryor. So many people are talking about Mikel Brown and the money, man. Cason's over here like that gif from The Boys of, like, realizing that everyone's mad, but it's not at him.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
Like, that's what I've thought about him, stealing money from Louisville.
Oh, that's a tweet. That is a tweet.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well,
that's yours.
No, I'll let you have that one. That fits better within your wheelhouse.
That's your art, man. You do with your art what you want, man.
Presley, what do you think, man? Are you paying Adrian Woolley like he's your best guard?
I have pretty strong feelings about this, actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
We're seeing more and more. Coaches are still trying to figure things out, right? In the modern day and age, and we're seeing more and more the way that teams are finding success is still the way that they've always found success, which is some level of continuity. Agents know this, players know this, players' families know this. Everybody's going to try to leverage it. We saw it with Isaac Brown in football. Both seasons he's been here, there is this major bidding war. He's in the transfer portal. He's, it's baked in. He's going to Texas, right? You got to play that game. I'm not sure that this coaching staff is built to play that game. There's people behind the scenes that work those channels for them a little bit. I think last year Adrian Woolley, from what you hear, from people who are in the know around the program, it was down to Louisville and Alabama. And if you know anything about Adrian Woolley, he's from Tuscaloosa. Do you guys know where he went to high school?
Hoover High School. I don't know.
He went to Paul W. Bryant High School.
Okay. That's funny.
He went to Bear Bryant High School. And he chose Louisville.
Right.
He chose Louisville over Alabama. I just looked it up to make sure there was the same Paul Bryant. There wasn't another popular guy down there. No,
Bear Bryant High School has nothing on Eastern High School.
But is that named after John Eastern?
John Eastern, that's right, man. The greatest basketball player on this side of the Mississippi. What do you mean? What do you know about John Eastern, man? Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
I remember those John Eastern, Rajon Rondo conversations back
in
the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
Is Rajon the next John Eastern? My column. Yeah, exactly. Look, I struggle with this one because like this comment right here, and I think I'm so guilty of this as a fan and as a commentator, an analyzer of basketball for this show. Every time I talk about Adrian Woolley, he's a dog offensively. He's a dog defensively. I'm like, well, hold on. I don't think he was always a dog defensively. He played more like a poodle at times. And he certainly wasn't a dog all the time with finishing in the paint. One of the leaders in the country in having a shot blocked. I don't know that statistically, but that's got to be factually accurate. And he got better as the season comes along, as that role increased and as they tried to find the right fit between him and Isaac and Mikel and Ryan balancing injuries. But I like the inconsistencies for me throughout the year. Now, I understand role and how that plays into things and how you have to kind of become something that you is not your wheelhouse if somebody gets injured. Is just for me, it's if you're going out and you need another point guard and a shooting guard, most likely, and Adrian Woolley could be your 3 unless you upgrade that to be more of a traditional 3, which I think you kind of need to just based off of the matchups Louisville struggled with. I just don't know how you can pay him that kind of money. And I think that the Alabamas and the Arkansas of the world simply are just going to be able to come in and offer more. And while the role may not be more, the financials will make sense. And then being able to go closer to home will. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. But to your point, Press, we need some continuity on this team. You've got to return somebody.
Yeah.
You cannot go into year 3 replacing 9 to 13 players. It's just, it's doable in this college basketball landscape, but it's not the winning formula that you see like that.
It's not conducive to success. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's why I have such strong feelings about trying to keep Woolley, but also knowing, like, I'm just trying to picture being him, right? I'm 6'5". I can dunk a basketball. I am one of the most sought after players potentially in the transfer portal if I were to enter, right?
Yeah.
And my option is going to, I can't use Tuscaloosa as an example. It is bad. Going to Columbus, Ohio to play for Ohio State, staying at Ohio State or coming back to my hometown and playing in Louisville in front of my friends and family, what that represents and what that would mean to me. Obviously home is different for every person. Tuscaloosa, Alabama is very different than Louisville, Kentucky. I get that. In the offseason, I remember there's a lot of chatter, a lot of conversation about, it was really down to Louisville and Alabama, and Bama was willing to match whatever Louisville was willing to give him. He ultimately decided on and believed in his coaching staff and where he fit on this roster. Now, hindsight being 2020, obviously, Alabama's best player gets popped with a pound of weed the week before the NCAA tournament. Shit changed a little bit there. He would have been super useful then. But point being, I do feel like this is a guy that has wanted to be here. I think that he put it on the line. He, as Pat Kelsey said, he emptied the tank. When Mikel went out that second time, he wasn't going to let that opportunity slide again.
Right.
And if we're talking money, right, he made himself a lot of money right there. Not just wherever he goes next year, but also in the league, right? Like, I think this is you're looking at an NBA caliber player. There's a few things that need to be polished, but you're looking at a guy that he's a second round type of pick. Absolutely. He has the size, he has the intangibles, and he has the stones, right? When you look back at every time Louisville was trailing in a game and they made a late run, Adrian Woolley. every time, in the one situation in the regular season where they needed a bucket late, he was the guy. Like I told Alan the other day, it wasn't just that he took that shot; he was willing to miss that shot, and it's hard to come by a player like that. It's hard to come by. We talked about so much down the stretch that it felt like towards the end of games, with Mikel being out, that we weren't sure who wanted the ball and who you give the ball to. Right? Ryan Conwell feels like the obvious answer, but sometimes it didn't always. That wasn't what the vibe was, right? Adrian Woolley, when it mattered the most, he stepped up to the plate almost as consistently as anybody else on the team.
Do you get into a bidding war over him?
That's the question, Presley. That's the question.
There's always limits, right? But I think that if you were going to prioritize Kanai versus Kaysen versus Sananda Fru versus Zugris, put all that shit to the side. When you're looking at next year, when you're looking at players that are going to return, the number one player that I'm prioritizing, bar none, is Adrian Woolley.
Sure.
100%.
Sure.
Right? I know that there's maybe a higher ceiling with a Kanai Ruse. I know that maybe you can foster a little bit more positional continuity with some other players. When you want to build a successful winning roster, you need guys that are cut from the cloth of an Adrian Woolley. They empty the tank. He empties the tank for this team. He put it on the line for this team. That's a guy that I want to see back. And yeah, like I'm willing to pay for it. And look, it's not my money to spend. I get it. And I don't know the guy personally. This coaching staff does, but you can tell by the way that they talk, they believe in him. They were banking on this being a 2-year guy. And I think that the roster conversation should be centered around Adrian Woolley. Will it? I don't know. Maybe it's already baked in. Maybe we know how this goes, right? The back channels could have been worked. He could be entering the portal the day after the national championship game, and this is all a dumbass conversation. I get that.
Right.
But if it's my opinion, I'm giving him my best Pat Kelsey Chevrolet sales pitch. And I'm calling in Mom. I'm taking him out to a nice steak dinner. I'm getting him the Air Jordan cake. Maybe Big Dog will be there.
Call a Big Dog in.
Yeah. We're getting the extra big crab legs. We're saying, Darcy, get over here. How big are those crab legs tonight? Let's get
double them
for Adrian.
Well, you know who this is? This is Adrian. Double them. Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think those are some really valid points.
Yeah.
And the continuity, you have to kind of pay for that if you want it in this day and age. And unfortunately, in the real world, you make more money by leaving and going to another school. And I think that there's a lot of that in the portal. But I also think it's up to, schools, when you do have a good thing, to make sure you're investing that way into the players that have stuck around and that have done what you've asked them to. Go ahead.
Here's my counter for that, right? To me, it's a very obvious counter. It's not necessarily about how much food you're putting on the table right now. It's about the generational wealth you can create by maintaining that continuity with this roster, right? If you move again, that's your third team in 3 years. I get it's home. I get that.
Yeah.
But also you got to think about the fit at Alabama, right?
Right.
Think about Adrian, if you're listening, make sure you're taking notes. Think about the fit at Alabama. They're not freaking. Alabama is not building a roster around Adrian Woolley. They're not.
No.
Louisville can.
They got 2 4-star guards coming in next year that are the exact same height as him, 6'6", 6'5". So there's your competition, right? I mean, so if you're
like I tell my wife all the time, there's not that big of a difference between 5'11" and 6 foot.
That's exactly.
I would imagine if I was that tall, it'd be even less of a difference. So.
Yeah. No, and I'm not saying, I'm not going to Alabama because those guys are tall. I can't do it. It's more of they play the same position and likely play a very similar style to him. But I would be interested in playing for Nate Oates. And interestingly enough, if you're on Twitter tonight and you're looking at the candidates, I mean, there's a lot of conversation around Nate Oates being a candidate for the North Carolina job, which I just think is hilarious considering that Alabama is a better job right now than North Carolina in basketball, and that's saying something. Now, part of that is coaching. Nate Oates is a better coach than Hubert Davis is, and North Carolina is a blue blood by all accounts. But that's really interesting that he might be interested in that job.
North Carolina has a very, very rich, very prominent man with some very yellow eyes.
I heard the floor is the ceiling in his mind. So, or the ceiling is the roof. All right. Last one here. Kenai Roots. Okay. This is, I think, the most interesting decision that sits in front of Pat Kelsey, Brian Cloman, and the Louisville basketball staff, because Kenai is, and I made this comparison on Dalton Pence's show on Locked On Louisville, and you guys are going to hate me for this. Dalton hated me for it, but I just got to call it like I see it, right? Not long ago, Louisville had another guy very similar to Kenai Roots.
I know
and man, every year we're like, this is the year. He's going to be the best player on the team. Look at what he did last year. He was right there. He's 6'10". He's built like a NBA center. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are we talking about the King of New York?
No, we're not talking about the King of New York. We're talking about, golly, you really threw me off with the King of New York.
VJ King? We're not talking about VJ King?
We're not talking
Really?
about VJ King. No, we're talking about Jalen Withers.
It seemed like you were leading us down a very.
I am talking about Jalen Withers. Kenai
who?
Roots is Jalen Withers 2.0.
Oh,
it is
Withers.
the
Okay.
same thing. I am telling you, it is the same thing. Every year we wrote about Withers is an NBA player. His frame is an NBA player frame. His game is built to scale to being an NBA player. He could shoot it. He could get to the basket. He was athletic. But each year left you desiring more. You're like, there's got to be more to his game. And ultimately, he left Louisville. And I think Kenai is following a very similar route going into year 3. And I think if you're Pat Kelsey and staff, you have to ask yourself, what is he? Is he a role player that's just really, really unique in matchup? Or is this a guy that's this close to putting it together and being a star? I think that's the question you're asking yourself, because in glimpses of it, you see Kenai as a starting 3 or a 4. You see there's an opportunity there for him. He could be that for you. But then you see elements where he doesn't look like he knows how to dribble. He looks completely lost in the flow of the game. Is that not Jalen Withers? I mean, that's the same damn story year after year.
God,
and now with the financial envelopment. No. It's not a bad thing. I think you just have to make the decision on what you truly believe he is. For me, I think he just needs more. And as a junior, there's not a lot of that left. And if I was them, I would give it one more year. I would pay him and commit to him, show him my belief in him, and I would give it one more time. Because again, I think he's built to be an NBA player. Can we squeeze that out of him? I, as the GM of Louisville basketball, would say yes. We have to do it. Let's try it.
Is there something to be said? Is there something to be said about competition? Right? I mean,
there certainly is, but that's not how this world works in NIL anymore, unfortunately.
No,
guys are looking for where they can get paid and be the star.
I get that, but just hear me out here. Day in, day out in practice, who this season was primarily responsible for guarding Kenai Roots? Was it Javon Adley? Was it a walk-on? Was it
Kamara? Yeah.
Right? Like, dude hasn't had any competition in practice, right? He's kind of been on his own island as like a sixth position that apparently isn't acknowledged heavily enough in Pat Kelsey's system, right? Like, it's almost like when he's in, you kind of have to design the game around him a little bit differently, which in and of itself is a little concerning, right? But I do feel like, similarly to Zugris, this feels like a guy that just wants to be here, right? I think Pat even had a comment when he came back from his mono or whatever it was in the middle of this. And let's not disregard that either, right? Like, right in the middle of the season, I don't know. I've had mono twice now. Apparently the rumor is false. If you get it once, you're more susceptible, but I've had it twice as an adult, and yeah, it puts you on your ass for a month, right? Like, my senior year of high school, I don't remember February. I don't remember it. Like, literally, I laid in bed for 28 straight days. It sucks. And that's what I would imagine was going on with him. I mean, I don't want to speculate, but it's the only thing I can think of, that you would just be ill. You can't be around other people. You're just trying to heal up. I'm sure that killed him inside. He came back like a freaking monster. I think the problem is keeping that fire inside of him, but also I feel like Kanai is a bit of a rhythm player, right? It really comes and goes in waves. When he's on, he's on. And when he's off, he's really off. And I think it's kind of like it's one of those where, if you can get him going at the right time and at the right pace with this team, I think that's a big deal. But again, it goes back to the continuity aspect of things, right? You want guys that want to be here. And Kanai Roots, to me, screams a guy that wants to be a Louisville Cardinal. I think more than anybody else on this roster, the entire season, maybe outside of Javon Hadley, it felt like he wanted to be there. And I think that there's something to be said about that. I think there's something to be said about having guys that want to be a part of your program. Third year in Pat Kelsey's system, you were recruited. Yeah. Think about his legacy if he truly makes a turn for the better and is consistently night in, night out a 10-6 kind of guy. Just think about what his legacy would be. Like, he would be the face of turning Louisville basketball around as a player. Because you had the 1 year of Chucky, you had the 1 year of Kanai, or excuse me, of whatever, Mikel, right? Like, it's just... Jacob, go ahead. To me, it's not as important as Adrian, but damn it, I would love to keep him.
Yeah. So
and like LA Lakers 17 says, he has a Louisville tattoo, which so does
Ruben Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben Owens. Yeah.
So does Jacob.
I think yes, I do. And if I transfer that glasses and Revival is going to look really weird on my ass. So it's going to have a hard time explaining that one to whoever my next team is.
I like.
Hey, sorry, TJ Otzelberger, I can't be an Iowa State fan because I have glasses on my ass, and you don't wear glasses. I'd have to get some kind of like swoop comb over for that. Off topic, TJ Otzelberger is forever the guy from Ozark whose mom is the one that gets hit by the bus and he's like super scared and nervous all the time. That's TJ Otzelberger in real life. But anyways, going back to Kanai Roots, the question I have for you two, and Alan, I'll ask you this. Is he closer to the double-double Kanai late in the season that we saw, closer to the 20 and 10 Kanai at the beginning of the season against South Carolina State, or is he closer to the zeros essentially that he put up towards the back end of the season? Like realistically, if you do bring him back, is it, you think that it goes more towards the efforts we saw where he really dominated, or do you think that he would kind of slip back, if you will, into some of those, just habits of becoming a part of the game essentially? I
think he can be probably what was the middle option that you like?
Is he a 20-point scorer, double-double guy? I mean, that's the question. And that's what he showed he could be, you know?
Yeah. I thought Presley had a good little, can he be a 10-6 guy? When Presley said that, I thought that was really good because he absolutely can be. Look at what that's literally pretty much what Caleb Glenn is at Michigan State. So that's a prime example of a guy that, honestly, I was just kind of like, God, was I wrong about this kid? And, I mean, he ended up going to FAU, looking pretty good to the point where Izzo went and got him. Now he's hurt right now, but he's averaging 12 and 5 or something like that. That's really good on a Michigan State team where everybody eats equally. Even your star freshman point guard makes sure that he's the focus of the offense, but he's dishing out, making sure there's a lot of people that can contribute. So I think Kanai Roots can be that. The other thing about Kanai is, and Presley alluded to this too, is that we've had 2 true freshmen in the Pat Kelsey era, and one of them is Kanai Roots. So talking about his legacy, wow. The other guy, there's Kanai, and the other guy is who we started the show talking about and griping about his family. We've had 2 totally different experiences, highs and lows with those guys. I mean, the Kanais, you could walk in a room and say, what do you feel about Kanai Roots? People say, I love Kanai, the Cards cheers, leading the Cards cheers, all that. Like you just said, getting the tattoos. And this is a guy that, when we first started going over current roster pieces, the one thing that I kept going back to was continuity and stuff like that. Presley and yourself touched on that a little bit with different guys. Kanai Roots there's nothing more continuous in the Pat Kelsey era than Kanai Roots. Came in, he's like a baby in my mind, especially like coming back next year. He's like a little child that we watched grow up,
He's
since
like
he
a
was
teenager.
yeah.
He's like
And
hitting puberty in his college basketball days.
yeah. And then coming into this year, he bulked up, and we're like, look at Kanai's body. Oh, then he got sick, came back, an animal, drooped down, and I part of that was the emergence of Zugris and Adrian Woolley, other guys that filled certain gaps where Kanai would take over in games, or Kanai would have little spurts and things like that. But Kanai is a guy that showed flashes, not a great shooter, but I mean, again, was he 20 years old? Sophomore, another sophomore, right? So him and Adrian Woolley, yeah, man. I mean, I'm leaning more towards the argument for Adrian Woolley as I talk here, because, we could really have like a special core to this team if you bring back, even if Kanai is like the seventh guy off the bench or whatever, I'm not saying he has to start or that he has to be, coming off way deep on the bench, but like, even if he's like the seventh guy, the seventh man, eighth man, I think you could have really something special. And like, I'm willing to, don't know what he made this year, but I'm willing to match it, I guess. Like, I don't know what his deal is, but as far as money goes, like, I'm willing to watch that one till the end. I mean, he's maybe the one that I'm like the most bullish on, not from a talent standpoint, but just like, man, from a culture standpoint, I'd really like to see Kanai back.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I would just add just very quickly is this season feels a bit incomplete for Kanai, right? Like, I think a lot of people talk about, if you're grading this season, I've heard a lot of people say, well, I feel like the season's incomplete because your best player kind of stole the show a little bit for you, right? But if you remember back towards the beginning of the season, Kanai actually got 2 starts. After the first game of the season, Pat Kelsey was like, well, shit, if I'm getting that every night, 20.7 rebounds,
like
3 assists to 1 turnover. He had a steal, a block, like, stuff the stat sheet. Granted, you are playing South Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the worst team in the country. Totally
Correct.
get that. Right? But he comes back out, 16 points, 10 rebounds, an assist, a steal in game 2, right? He finished the season with 3 double-doubles, which maybe Javon
one late
had
in
more
the year.
I know Frew had a couple. I know Javon had a couple, but he may have led the team in double-doubles.
Which is crazy. Yeah. I mean, I think you might be right on that, dude.
After that 3rd or 4th game of the season, his minutes decreased significantly, right? So he played 21 minutes game 1, started and played 24 game 2. I know why, because Javon Hadley had a concussion. That's why.
Yep. That's why. That's exactly right. And then Kentucky, I'm pretty sure Kanai was nowhere to be found in that game. I remember going into that one being like, this is the game where he shows he's an NBA player. And he didn't get it
just
out of him.
Straight zeros. 1 steal, but outside of that, all zeros in 11 minutes. And that's really kind of when you see his minutes take a dip, right? 13, 13, 22, 19, 9, 8, 18, 13, 22, 18. And then he comes back from the injury, 27, 12. Regardless, though, it's like I said on socials during the first NCAA tournament game, right? Kanai Roots is when your mom picks you up from school and says, honey, we're going to get ice cream, right? It's unexpected. It's nice when it happens, but it sure doesn't happen often enough, right?
Well, and if you're like my kids, then you expect it every single day. And that's where we fall in with Kanai, is expecting it every day. And I think, again, the question you have to ask is he more of a fringe? Is he a role player, or is he a starter/star? Can he become that? Can he become a starter? Can he give you Javon Hadley, like the commenter said on the YouTube show? If he can give you Hadley numbers, you'll be happy with that. Yeah, hell yeah, I would be I would be over the moon if he gave you Hadley numbers. Yeah. For me, though, if that jump shot's not improving this offseason, it's a lost cause in terms of making him fit into this, because he's not a 5. And you need 4 other guys who can shoot the ball on the floor, especially if you have a center who can't shoot. So I think a lot of it's going to depend upon kind of how they match up. Hey, Megan. Can she hear me?
Yeah, she says hi.
Hey, Megan. Ask her thoughts on Kanai Roots and if he should come back next
Babe? Yeah. What do you think about Kanai Roots?
Babe?
Should he come back?
What do you think about him?
What about him? Should he come back?
Do you hope that he plays for Louisville next year?
Breaking news from Megan
Meyer.
She
says, why not?
Why not? That's exactly what we're saying. Sure. Why not? That's exactly right. So that's that right there, folks, was our armchair general manager for Louisville basketball. But that is what Brian Cloman and staff are working on as we speak, is building out the values of each of these players, understanding who is going into the portal, what they think of this team, how they're going to build around it. There is no focal point of next year's team at this moment in time right now. That's going to come over the next couple of weeks. And we'll see from that point on, what type of point guard do we get? What type of center do they bring in? Do they bring in a guy like a Somto Cyril out of Georgia if he were to go into the portal, or a shot blocker from Arizona State, or the shot blocker from Charleston that just transferred? I mean, there's a lot of options and things that they could do. Do they go out and do they bring in an Eli Ellis from South Carolina? Do they go out? Do they bring in somebody like an EJ Walker from South Carolina that's from Kentucky? There's a lot of things that they could do this offseason, a lot of conversations that they're going to have. And a tough conversation could be something like, do we prioritize a Kwame Evans, or do we bring Kenai Roots back? And those are going to be some very interesting conversations happening on Floyd Street over the coming days and weeks. And what I can guarantee you is two things. The portal's going to be jumping. And the state of Louisville and Starting 502 podcast are going to be covering it the best that we can.
Oh, yeah.
And you can catch us here each week. We will continue on. Even though the season is over, we don't sleep. We continue on here. State of Louisville Live. You can plan to check back in weekly for shows, updates on the portal. Follow us on social media. We're very close to encountering the highlight season like we did in the football side of things with Presley over here with basketball. So I'm really excited about the portal season. And thank you for everybody who's been getting in on the chat. This was a nice little end of the oh God, yeah, here we go.
Please God, no Eli Ellis. Yes,
I had this conversation with
you.
a lot of people the last couple of days about Eli Ellis. And, it is not.
There's going to be so many people.
Does he read
like,
mine?
If his
said that?
Yes, he does. He does read minds.
If
Anthony Eason does.
If Eli Ellis was connected to Louisville in any way, do you know how many people are going to be so confused because of the Eli L thing?
It's like, is that L Ellis again? Wait a second. That guy doesn't look like L Ellis. It's
right.
like, oh, no, he actually came back from the NBA. Yeah. But
I
mean,
like the comment too here. Did Will Stein coach Lamar?
Jacob,
so
did you see this? I did see this today. This was a great story. We're going to let Keith and Vince cover this on the football show next week. Mm-hmm. But there was, Alan, if you haven't seen this, there was an article today from On3 in which Will Stein is either quoted or mentioned playing an active role in the development of Lamar Jackson during his time at Louisville. And if you know anything about their times at Louisville, they did not cross over at all. I think that person is referring to Nick Vitrino at Louisville and not Will Stein. So great humor. It's like them bringing the Heisman Trophy into the Kentucky facility. Like that is.
They have a fake mini Heisman signed by Lamar. Like, look at we met Lamar one time. No, okay, so Lamar, what is the coach's name? Is now an assistant at Kentucky. There is a coach now at Kentucky that was an assistant at Louisville when Lamar was here.
Oh, well, there's a couple. Colby Smith was one. I know of that.
Well, their whole staff is Louisville.
Yeah, the whole staff. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yes, yeah. So, regardless, though, yes, it was a quote directly from a player.
Yeah.
Saying that he was impressed that Will Stein had a hand in developing Lamar. But when you think about it, I mean, if he's 16 years old, he was literally like he might have been running around in pull-ups when Lamar was during his Heisman season, right? So, you know,
I don't think there'd be a pull-up at 9 years old, but maybe
16 was the Heisman year. So we're talking 10 years ago. He would have been sick. Well, look, we're not gonna potty shame anybody on this show.
Right? Yeah, right. Exactly. Hey, the 9-year-old's in a diaper, man. I get it. You know,
it's fine. Totally if you can ball, you can wear a diaper. We don't care, right? Like,
that's right. Yeah. I already put that one up here.
Get you that Huggies NIL deal.
Can just throw one up there. So, like I said, stay locked in here. State of Louisville. Follow us on social media at the State of Lou, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn. Follow us on all of those platforms, and be sure to follow Alan.
If you want to jump in,
posted on it. Yeah, if you want to manage that, let us know. Hey, hopefully one of them's Case and Pryor, because he's going to need to go pro in something else.
I'm following God, that's all I care about. Following or something.
Yeah, some are saying that that Case and Pryor's looking for that LinkedIn jersey, that basketball jersey that goes viral every once in a while.
That's me.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I can't say anything because Case and Pryor's made more money this year than I've made my whole life. So joke's on me, actually. And that will do it here on State of Louisville Live, presented by Surfside and Main Event. I am Jacob Lane, and these handsome gentlemen are Alan Thomas and Portal Pres Meyer. We will catch you next week. Stay locked into the social media channels. And as always, folks, go Cards.
Let's go Cards.
Right.
We'll see you next